Secretary of State Mike Pompeo flipped out at a reporter for basically calling BS on him when he claimed that China created COVID-19 in a lab and it was released. And I don't know if he's gone as far as to say it was a bioweapon or if he's saying like, hey, it was created in a lab and then it was accidentally released. I don't know what his exact claim is, but he has stated now multiple times that, COVID-19 was created in a lab. And so basically this reporter chimes in and goes, well, hold on now. There's no other country on earth that is claiming this and that can verify this. So honestly, it's beginning to sound a little bit like the claims against Saddam Hussein early on after 9/11. Oh, he was responsible for 9/11. He funded them. He worked with Osama bin Laden. He worked with Al-Qaeda. Now, we know in retrospect that was all BS. Even the idea, he has weapons of mass destruction. All BS. But the U.S. was claiming it. We were the only ones claiming it. And then we mucked up like a bunch of fake evidence. This is beginning to sound like that. When everybody around the world is like, no, it wasn't created in a lab. It was created in a wet market. And the U.S. alone is like, no, it was created in a lab. And that means that, we really got to blame them and really got to raise tensions with them. So this reporter's doing her job, and look at his response.
Well, that's all consistent. That's all consistent. Barbara, we've been through it, Barbara.
And so on. So I'm just wondering,
yeah.
And also the IC statement last week doesn't sort of talk about any evidence. Are you basing your assertion on information that all of these parties do not have? And a second question
Barbara, let me just put this to bed. Your efforts to try and to spend your whole life trying to drive a little wedge between senior American officials, it's just false. Barbara, every one of those statements is entirely consistent. Every one of them. Lay them down together. There's no separation. We're all trying to figure out the right answer. We're all trying to get to clarity. There are different levels of certainty assessed at different places. That's highly appropriate. People stare at data sets and come to different levels of confidence.
Okay, he's so bad at lying. He's so bad at doing this job. This is a guy who we've seen lie time and time again. He lies about Iran all the time, and we're seeing him lie again here. So she's asking for evidence, and he basically says, like, whoa, every statement on this has been entirely consistent. We know that's not true because he went on one of the Sunday shows, and he says, the experts are saying now that it was made in a Chinese lab, and then the host goes, well, actually, we have quotes here from whoever it was, the State Department or one of the intelligence agencies, and it says that indeed it wasn't created in a lab, and then he goes, right, I have no reason to disagree with that. Okay, so which is it? He's been saying both things, because when people push back, he's got nothing to say in terms of evidence, got nothing to show. So he's like, yeah, I agree with that too. No, those are contradictory. You have to pick one. Was it created in a lab, or was it in the wet market? Which is it? And he wants to say in the lab, but he's got no evidence, so he says, oh, no, I don't disagree with the intelligence experts who say the opposite. So which is it? But then he goes out there and says every statement is entirely consistent. No, it's not. It's not consistent. We have you on video. Dippy, what's wrong with you? So, okay, but look at this. This guy is as bloodthirsty of a neocon as you could possibly get. He's right up there with John Bolton. He's right up there with Gina Haspel. He's right up there with Bill Kristol. Like, he thinks the U.S. should run the world and we get to topple whoever the hell we want and implement whatever dictator we want and then turn around and pretend like it's democracy to the rest of the world. So he's as bad as it gets. He's as hawkish as it gets. He's as imperialistic as it gets. Noticed how touchy he is when he gets called out by a reporter. He's so touchy. And then he makes it personal. Oh, I see you're trying to drive a wedge between different intelligence officials. She's trying to get you to verify a claim that you made and to prove a claim that you made and to show evidence for a claim that you made. That's her doing her job. But notice, oh my God, it seemed he's so triggered by it. He's so offended at the fact that a reporter's actually doing their job because he expects reporters to be stenographers for him. Stenographers to power. Because that's what they've been historically in the U.S. That's why we had the lead up to the Iraq War that we had, because people weren't questioning officials. People take the word of the intelligence agencies and our politicians, our leaders, as gospel, when you shouldn't. You should try to verify them. You should try to fact check them. They're not gods from a mountaintop. These are human beings with their own biases and with their own preferences, and they could be trying to force the national narrative in a certain direction, and that's exactly what's happening here. And we've spoken about it on multiple different shows, but this is what they're trying to do, guys. They're absolutely trying to divert blame, divert attention. If we're only talking about China and how terrible it is that it originated there and they lied early on, then they are successfully changing the conversation from what we did here early on, which is the exact same damn thing. What we did here is we downplayed, we lied about it, we contradicted ourselves, we didn't prepare the proper number of tests, the proper number of ICU beds, the proper number of ventilators, we weren't strong enough. We did so many things where we messed up. They don't want to have that conversation, because they have that conversation, they lose the next election. So instead of that, what do? The China Wuhan lab, it was made in a Wuhan lab. Was this a bioattack? Was this a bioattack? I don't know, maybe it's a bioattack. If we blame China and put all the onus on them, then we walk away scot-free, and also we enter into a new Cold War-like situation, which of course these guys want, because they're the neocons, they're the hawks of hawks. So of course they want a new Cold War, of course they want a more standoffish situation, and of course they don't want anybody challenging U.S. hegemony. And that's what this comes down to. So, God, you got to get this guy out of this position, man. Dangerous. Him and John Bolton are so dangerous. And look at how he melts down when a reporter does their job.